I'm telling you guys, the Phantom was quite literally dripped out. You either hate her or love her. But her wardrobe was so deliciously decadent. I truly have a bone to pick with Madame Giry. In today's video, we'll be covering the making of the 2004 musical film Phantom of the Opera, featuring Emmy, Rossum, Gerard, Butler, and Patrick Wilson. And if you thought Miss Christine Daae looked familiar, then you should know she also played Fiona Gallagher in Shameless. Talk about range. From hitting high notes to hitting rock bottom in Chicago. You know, the duality of woman never ceases to amaze me. Anyways, this movie is quite something. From the romance and the overall extravagance and dreaminess of it all, let's take a deep dive into the closer details of the costume design within this movie. Also, welcome if you're new here. My name is Malaya, and if you like all things fashion, TV, film, and internet culture, support the channel by liking and subscribing. So Phantom of the Opera, as all the greats do, started off as a novel by a French author and journalist Gaston Leroux, published in 1910. He was actually inspired by the Palais Garnier, the Parisian opera house that has been said to be haunted. There were ghostly rumors of an 1896 fire that led to the death of an individual, to the whispers of a ballerina's skeletons found, and many decades later, upon the success of Starlight Express and Cats, Andrew Lloyd Webber was approached to do a rocker horror movie-esque musical based off of Phantom of the Opera. And after stumbling upon a second-hand bookstore, he ended up picking up a copy of the book himself and supposedly read it in one sitting one afternoon and came to an epiphany of sorts. He took the original concept of the novel and still retained that sense of mystery, but turned it into a complex love triangle between Christine Daae, the mysterious Phantom, and Christine's childhood friend, Viscount Raoul de Chagny. And thus, the musical was born. And our leading lady, Christine Daae, played by then 17-year-old Emmy Rossum, was actually a last-minute screen test due to a family reunion that Emmy was supposed to attend in Las Vegas. However, somehow, someway, they convinced her to stay and do the test real quick, and thank goodness they did, because I can't really imagine who else might have done the role at this time. Emmy Rossum, I believe, was a fresh actress on the scene, and it's kind of a shame that after this she didn't really do any other musical roles, but I guess she did decide to take on more serious roles in different genres other than a musical. However, when we first meet Christine, she wears her stage getup consisting of a two-piece set with a crop top and a loose skirt held together with a belt. She and Meg are practically wearing the same outfit as they are the background ballet dancers, and this was done so intentionally as they are not meant to stick out but are meant to act as the supporting members for the main vocalist, who at this point was Carlotta. However, due to Carlotta's refusal to perform, Christine decides to fill in for her role instead due to the encouragement of Madame Giry. And where the film and Broadway musical really differ in their costume is the film's ability to have a little bit more play with their costume choices as opposed to Broadway's very quick and fast-paced costume changes in between scenes. For instance, in the live musicals, Christine is seen wearing a corset with a tassel-like skirt, but as she ascends into the lead role, her outfit is transformed into the full dress version along with that same corset she wears earlier. And opposed to this, in the film, we can see a full transition from Christine's old ballet dancer uniform to probably her most iconic dress, which is the Think of Me dress. And upon closer inspection, a lot of fans noted that her dress was very similar to the dress worn from this portrait of Empress Elizabeth of Austria. Alexandra Byrne was the costume designer for this film and was said to have gathered a lot of pictures and paintings for this mood board in order to curate what all of the characters were going to wear. And I would go out of my way and assume that this painting might have actually been part of her mood board, as there were no actual costume design sketches that were released from the making of this film. So we may never know, but the resemblance is pretty uncanny between the two. From the hair accessories to the sparkles on the dress, the similarities are there. The white dress is off the shoulder with star sparkle detailing fashioned throughout the skirt and that same star pattern on her drop earrings and hairpins. Truthfully, she looked like an absolute angel in this scene, and I believe this was done intentionally to represent her innocence and naivety with all that's going on at the opera. She's still under this impression that the Phantom is somehow her father reincarnated as her guardian angel, and has no idea the sort of manipulation and deceptiveness that the Phantom is putting her through. And we can start to see signs of this sort of power imbalance between the two, as we can see his first appearance in Christine's life was after that first performance, and he shows his disapproval towards Raoul's courting of her. At this point of the film, Christine is unwinding for the night after her performance as she's wearing a nightgown. To me, it literally looks like it's lingerie, as she wears this white corset with lace along with a white robe with tons of ruffle detailing. And the choice for Christine to be wearing her night clothes heavily emphasizes the sexual symbolism for her and the Phantom's relationship. The costume that Christine is wearing definitely evokes the intimate relationship between these two, and there's something very erotic between all of the interactions these two have in his lair. It's one of the more sensual pieces between the two, and we can see the Phantom's seduction over Christine, and her vulnerability is literally made present with the state of undress she's in. And another one of the dresses that is meant to represent this tumultuous relationship between Christine and the Phantom is, of course, the wedding dress. The wedding dress features an off-the-shoulder white gown with a combination of a draped and ruffled train. And I'll be the first to admit that the Phantom has quite the taste. I'm not sure if the Phantom himself sewed the dress with all that free time he had, or if he simply bought it, but the fact that this dress was waiting for Christine to be worn one day goes to show his unhealthy obsession with being with her. Clearly, there's a power dynamic of how he had always expected Christine to be grateful of all the times he's been there for her, and how she quote-unquote owed being devoted to him. And another noteworthy dress to mention was, of course, her pink masquerade dress, which was very exquisitely detailed. The dress itself is light pink with notes of blush pink, and the party is really in the back with this one, as it's beautifully crafted with floral and bow detailing that is oh so unique. The result is something unlike anything I've ever seen before, with a different take on how drapery can be accomplished. And of course, we can't forget her chain necklace with her engagement ring. I think their choice for the pink dress can really be viewed as Christine's blossoming into a more mature person. At this point of the movie, she's finally seeing the Phantom for who he is, and is allowing herself the chance to be under the protection of Raoul. Now, as for our two leading men, can we first talk about the Phantom's hair? Because that man's hair was slicked to the gods. I've always wondered what the Phantom would do with all the money that he got from all the patrons of the opera, but I think he spent it all on hair products. That or his clothing and mask. He was always dressed to the nines, but obviously the mask is the Phantom's most iconic accessory. The Phantom has 3 masks that he wears throughout the film, his most worn being the classic white half mask, his red death mask, as well as the black mask. His daily mask covers his deformity but still allows the viewers to see parts of his face, meant to represent the remaining remaining humanity he has left. We later find out that much of his cruelty comes from, you guessed it, childhood trauma. Flashbacks from Madame Giry reveal that he had a very brutal childhood, as he was pretty much locked up and put in a cage for other people's entertainment due to his deformity. However, due to the kindness of Madame Giry and empathizing with him, she pretty much hides him away where he's been living out his days as the opera ghost. And when Christine attempts to take a peek of what's underneath the mask, he lashes out in an enraged state, revealing his insecurity with his appearance. Dressing as the Red Mask of Death, inspired by Edgar Allan Poe's short story, this mask features skull-like features with pronounced vein detailing paired with his all-red ensemble, creating such a visually striking outfit. You know he really meant business with this outfit. The rich crimson velvet suit suggests danger and luxury with its theatrical cape that evokes that dramatic gothic look. I'm telling you guys, the Phantom was quite literally dripped out. Now, as for Viscount Raoul, his costumes pretty much embody the conventional 1880s masculine fashion that represented his comfortable upbringing and inherited privilege. His costumes communicate those perfectly tailored military-inspired uniforms with rich navy blues and jewel tones and accessories that denote wealth without being too ostentatious. The costume design uses fashion to communicate his transformation from romantic idealist to determined protector, showing character growth through these choices. And I was rooting for him the whole time. Raoul was quick to take on the role of protector for Christine, and this seems very fitting given the fact that these two were childhood sweethearts. Now, though these two men were pitted against one another due to their shared love for Christine, I can appreciate the fact that when they're both old, their love for Christine never seemed to vanish. For Raoul, he was very insistent on grabbing the musical box from the auction to set it on Christine's final resting place, and we can see that there was a fresh rose placed on her grave as well, with the ring attached to it that came from the Phantom. Obviously, this implied that the Phantom himself placed the rose there. I'd like to think that all of the events of the film did leave the Phantom as a more changed and forgiving man. As we can see, he did outlive Christine, but in all those years that they lived, he pretty much left her alone and let her live out her days with Raoul peacefully. And hopefully in that sense, the Phantom also was able to find peace on his own. A character that I didn't think I was gonna like so much was actually Carlotta. She was the true definition of a diva despite her bratty personality, and she was definitely one of the more polarizing characters, as you either hate her or love her. But her wardrobe was so deliciously decadent with the most extravagant pieces. Maybe even more extravagant than Christine, but I think that's meant to emphasize her over-the-top personality. For Carlotta's first appearance, she wears her costume for the fictional opera Hannibal, where she is playing the leading soprano and is a prima donna through and through. Carlotta has a heightened sense of importance, ego, and enjoys being the center of attention, and her style is very reflective of that. And the opulence of her first outfit is quite telling. She fashions a golden red dress along with a cape attachment with a rich teal inner lining. She's accessorized with tons of gold jewelry and with a little gold flakes to finish off the look, right? Being extra is quite literally part of her DNA, and we can see this showcased in their other outfits as well. For instance, she wears this beautiful fuchsia and purple corset dress accessorized with a pink red hat with lace and feather detailing. And guys, can we talk about this fur wrap coat that she also wore? This is one of those pieces where if I had access to her closet, I would snatch it up and steal it for myself. And if that wasn't enough, this dress that she's wearing definitely is the icing on top of the cake. It's giving Marie Antoinette with the tall wig laced with a bunch of flowers and ornate detailing on the dress. Everything looked as if it was made 5 times larger. I was actually livid when this scene came up and the dress was quite literally being lowered down for her to just fit in. Now, for the secondary characters like Madame Giry, she wears a lot of dark clothing, primarily in blacks, and that positions her as both an authority figure and enabler. She wears high neck, long sleeve dresses with minimal ornamentation, reflecting her working class management position. And while she does maintain order and control over the opera and her establishment, I truly have a bone to pick with Madame Giry because she let the Phantom get away with too damn much, almost to the point where I felt like she was a bit too complacent in her role in all this. I think throughout the whole time, it just felt as if the Phantom was low-key grooming Christine in a way, and then Madame Giry was just there in the corner, kind of just peeking but not really doing anything about it. And I get she was scared, but she could have let Christine know a little bit that the Phantom is not to be trusted. But I get it. She had sympathy for him, and knowing his sort of upbringing and the cruelty he faced as a child, I can get by with that. But she could have done a little bit more to help Christine not be in such a vulnerable state. Now, as for her daughter, Meg definitely serves as Christine's supporting best friend. She's also almost like a visual parallel to Christine, as when we first meet the two friends for the first time, we see them wearing the same outfit, but their paths completely diverge from one another. For Meg, she remains a background character as she typically blends in with all of the other characters and maintains a good portion of her innocence throughout the film. She wears a lot of lighter clothing, and she has minimal to no jewelry, suggesting her modest social status. And her style definitely consistently positions herself as Christine's loyal friend rather than any romantic rival, with costume choices that never threaten Christine's visual prominence. Alright, and that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you made it this far into the video, then you are the coolest cat I know. But I really do appreciate your support, and if you enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and let me know what other films you think I should break down. But I have a lot of videos planned for the remainder of the year that I'm really excited to shoot, so I hope you stick with me throughout the journey. Alright, bye cool cats!